All right, here we go. Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
everyone.
Oh,
That's it. That's the intro because that's April. Welcome to
hey,
April, everybody.
everyone.
I'm Krista of Practical Astros.
I'm Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology, and we're here to talk over each other just for
Yeah.
you for April.
Yep. Yep. It's always the omen for the month is like what happens pre-recording and post-recording, and that's it. There's a lot of things jumbled up. We were talking about the calendar and all the things that cross over. It's like, oh, that happens that day and just a few hours into the next day. So that's it. That's the intro because that's what the month is like. Do you want to share your petroglyph emoji calendar?
Sure. All right, here we go. Sharing this insano calendar. It's crazy. It's a crazy month. I like how it starts out with a full moon in Libra, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a little Egyptian emoji. I didn't know that existed until I started making this calendar because I was like, what do you put for that? Venus
Mm.
in Taurus square Pluto with a Mercury trine Jupiter. It's
Mm.
giving Pharaoh.
Yeah, and the Cancer card in Tarot is the chariot, and it has these two sphinx looking creatures that pull the chariot, and that's where Jupiter is right now in Cancer. So I like that little
I love
nod.
it. Yeah, and you know what's cool about the emojis is I can kind of look at it and already pick out crazy weird days like the
Hmm.
Pharaoh emoji. So
Yeah,
yeah, what is your favorite emoji? Like without looking at the transits. I'm just
I
curious.
like the 26, the little writing guy. Yeah, I like him. He's like, oh, this will piss some people off, or this is brilliant, or I can't wait to write my lover this. That
Yeah,
one right there is the one that gets my attention.
maybe
What about
that's what
you?
I want. I think my favorite's the Pharaoh one, but I want people to like do that if they look at my calendar before you look at the
Mm-hmm.
words, pick out and then just see how it jives.
So at this point in the recording, we're only a few minutes in. Before you listen to the forecast, just choose. Choose what you like. Look at the emoji, choose the date, and just put the number. What number day? And then you can like reply to yourself later on in the conversation if you're like, actually, my chosen one would be this one.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like a emoji divination. So
Hmm.
this is April, and I guess we could start with the full moon.
Sure.
Let's go to the chart.
So the sun is in Aries. The sun exalts in Aries. And this one is not an eclipse. We have moved away from the eclipse cycle of Aries Libra. So these lunations in Libra and Aries now are eclipse free. And this one here, we have the sun at 12 degrees, the moon at 12 degrees. The sun is co-present with Neptune and Saturn and Chiron, but not in this decan. So it feels like it stands out a little bit on its own. It's in its own decan, it's exalted there. I really like the sun's position. The sun feels incredibly empowered and ready to just govern the shit out of its life right now. It feels
Mm,
very much like, I know what I'm doing. I've got this. I'm going to share all the light, and the moon is there over in Libra, just casting it. So they feel like partners more so than they have before because
mm,
of the eclipse. They feel like here's the axis of Libra Aries. We're just maximizing this really beautiful exalted sunlight back to the people, back to Earth. And what are you going to do with it? Where's the balance? Where's the governance? Where's the organization? Where's the empowerment? It's just like this is the time to execute your plan, to because you
mm,
have the most light possible in this really judicious, lovely Libra moon, and it's connected to the ruler Cancer. The home of the moon is there. It's square Jupiter, but I kind of like that. I like Jupiter kind of being caught up in the mix. I really like starting off the month with this because it's just like laying all of the month of April on the table. Like, here we go. What are we going to do with this month? Just right off the bat.
it really is. Venus ruling it and it's in Taurus and its home sign is pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
that. And like we're recording this Tuesday, March 24th, and it's 11:25 a.m. right now. But we're Sun Saturn today.
Hmm.
And I always call this, it's almost like my own new year because when I get past the sun gets past Saturn, it feels like there's movement. And so you've
Mm-hmm.
got the full moon with the sun past its, it's gotten past the wall of Saturn. And
Yeah.
I just love that part about it. So I agree with you. It feels very like TCB, taking care of business,
Mm-hmm.
and supported because Venus and Mars is soft, they're just soft in Pisces and Libra.
Yeah.
So I agree. I like it. Now, do I think that it could be in a mundane way something weird? Yeah. Like what if there's peace talks? That would be a
Mm-hmm.
good transit for that to happen under, Maybe let's hope for the best for this one because it is so even keeled, it feels like.
Well, and also in the cardinal signs, like when things happen there, they really do tell us something's it's like the
Mm,
hinge on a door, like the door opens to something new, and that cardinal motion, that cardinal movement really opens the door towards some sort of like the sentence the plot takes a turn. It takes a turn, and once it turns, you don't think about what the plot was before. You're like, this is the direction it's clearly going now. So none of that
mm,
matters. It only mattered to get to this point where then the plot turned. The cardinal signs kind of signal that. And so, is this the moon? If we think of the moon as a collective people, the moon is our satellite and it collects the
mhm,
sun's light. It translates the rest of the planets to us. The moon is like our girl, and the moon is our ride or die, and the moon is there catching all this light and be like, this is actually what's going on. So, from that information, how do we turn? And so you can look at, okay, well, for me, the Libra is the 12th house. So I look at 12th house things. I think of meditating or dreaming,
mm,
during that full moon. Um, and am I going to be able to translate that message of whatever I can do to really turn the script of my own story at that point? You can look at the Libra house and see, okay, well, where is the story being translated through and how is it going to shift? Because I feel like once you have all the information, once you have a lot of information, you can make better choices. And that means changing some things. It's like, well, I thought I was going this direction because I had these three options, but I actually have 71 options. And now I'm going to combine 40 of them and then go this way. You know what I mean? Like you just have so much information and it helps direct where things are changing to because it's in the cardinal
mm,
axis of Aries, Libra. But it affects, Capricorn, Cancer too because it's hitting there, especially with Jupiter down there in Cancer.
yeah.
Capricorn, like you say, like whenever there's like an empty space, like, is
Hmm.
it going to land in the Capricorn place? Is that where the work can be done? Because there's just space on the countertops of Capricorn to be able to look at all that stuff.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So you said it.
Sorry,
You
sorry.
know, I love it. No, I love it. And it's funny because we're talking about where it was for you. For me, it's my fourth house. I'm a Cancer
Hmm.
rising. And that weekend my band's playing at a place called Mom's Basement.
Oh my, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Like, oh my goodness, that is hilarious. It's like that. I think it's going to show up pretty on the nose for people if you know where it
Hmm.
is for yourself. So find Libra, Capricorn, Aries, and Cancer. So the next one we've got is the third. Let's see. Yeah. So Venus and Taurus square Pluto in Aquarius plus the Mercury trine Jupiter exactly. As Mercury trine Jupiter to start the day is really nice, I think,
Hmm.
to prepare for that later on in the day.
Yeah. And looking at they're in each other's decans. So Mercury's in the middle decan of Pisces, which is Jupiter ruled, and Jupiter's in the middle decan of Cancer, which is Jupiter ruled. And they're in a trine. That trine, that flow, I really adore that. That's a really, really lovely one. That's Friday. That's Venus's day. Venus will be moving into that square with Pluto.
Yeah, that to
Squares
me
are
is tricky.
tricky. Yeah.
It's tricky. I mean, it's because the moon's still in Libra while this is going on too. And like you said, Mercury being in the sign of Venus's exaltation too, and then having Venus square Pluto,
Hmm.
seems like it's all of that story combined. Like you can't leave
Yes. Yeah.
out the Mercury Jupiter while you're talking about the Venus square Pluto because they're all like intertwined, it feels like.
Well, is the moon in Scorpio by the time that Venus and Pluto are in an actual square?
It will be,
Because then
yes,
the
it will
moon
be.
will be opposite Venus and also square Pluto within a few degrees.
Yeah, and Pluto, I love to bring up modern rulers because it freaks people out. But Pluto
Oh, look at
loves
that.
Scorpio, you know?
The
So,
moon at 5 degrees 21. Yeah, I didn't even look at that. I mean, the moon moves quickly, so but the moon translating all of this. And
yeah.
again, you look at that empty space. Where is there a vacuum in the fixed signs? And it's Leo, which is the sun.
Hmm.
And, the sun has just spent all of its energy speaking all of its truth to the moon in Libra. So it does almost feel like the moon might be translating more of that full moon story in the chapter of Venus square Pluto. It's kind of
Hmm.
like, all right, we have this, and now we're going to introduce these two characters that have this tension that, can be really juicy and really
Hmm.
fertile. And there's this word I love, fecundity, for Venus and Taurus. And then Pluto there, like in Venus's decan, like just unearthing the potential riches that feed as a fertilizer to that Venus. But that does not mean that it's clean or orderly. It can be pretty messy, Venus square Pluto, but it gives something, as a quadruple Taurus gives a Taurus something to sort out, and it will keep them busy. It's like a good problem to have. Like, let Venus unearth some stuff from Pluto here early on in the Taurus journey so that she can really sort it out and have a purpose and have a project and be able to actualize real change. I think that the fixed signs and the earth signs have a capacity for real fundamental change because they're like fixated with it. But the earth signs are like, I want to see it in a tangible form. I want real practical results. I like what what the potential silver lining of this aspect could be, but this aspect itself could be pretty tricky. It's Venus's day. It's Friday. I think of just issues of women. We've talked a lot about the Epstein files and the subject matter that we're tackling. It's very deep, dark shit of the
Hmm.
subjugation of mostly women, and the infantilization and the sexualization of adolescent women. It's like all this stuff is Pluto Venus. And so is this some sort of thing that comes to a head that helps us further along that story so that there's justice, which is what that full moon
Hmm.
in Libra maybe was speaking to.
Hmm.
I think that it will also involve that because it's the mundane, and the moon is there involved in it, but it's deeper. You can look at your Venus and Aquarius houses to see maybe where this tension is. But I think it's good to give Venus this very practical thing to sort out. It's
Yeah.
like
And
when
go
something's
ahead.
erupted and you're like, well, what came out of the ground? I'm just going to now spend the rest of the few weeks kind of putting all of this in order so it can be useful. It's not wasted energy.
Yeah. And it's almost as if in my head I like to create kind of a scenario when I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
like especially two transits happening on the same day. And you can imagine getting some sort of message here with Mercury trine Jupiter.
Yeah.
It's like whether that's from someone else with the moon in Libra, it might be. Usually Venus square Pluto, especially with the moon there at the T square, you deal with some interpersonal something or empowerment
Mm-hmm.
issue. And so in your personal lives, you may be having a great day and it may not be a bad thing. It's just like, oh, well, I didn't know she felt that way about me. Kind of a
Mm.
situation is what I'm kind of getting from the Mercury trine Jupiter, and then having to sort that out with Venus square Pluto. And
Yeah.
that's just one scenario. So if you look at anywhere in your life where you might need empowerment, then this is the day that could come to a head. Like you said, erupt. It feels very
Mm-hmm.
eruptive.
Yeah.
And on the heels of when did Saturn sextile Pluto exactly? Okay, so that's March
5
28th.
days. Mm-hmm. 5 days
Mm-hmm.
before.
5 days before. So, and it's still at the fifth degree. So, the reason I was thinking this is there could even be a preview or something where you kind of see where you need empowerment on that day,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times we bring these own issues to a head ourselves, like
Mm-hmm.
if something happens where you feel disempowered around this time, because Saturn helps Pluto, I feel like is just this planet of power. There's always that question.
Mm-hmm.
So if Saturn's trying to a sextile is opportunity to see, like it's the first time Saturn can see Pluto like that,
Yeah.
then it is like, oh, I see I need empowerment here. Like maybe I need to to check this out. And then we, generally speaking, will bring that up so that we can deal with it. I mean, not that, that's not to say that things happen to us as well that can bring it up, but you'll see it
That's a good
more,
little preview. Yeah, it's a good preview day.
I love it. Yeah. Because I do think Venus square Pluto is not easy, especially with the moon in Scorpio. I think it's gonna be something pretty deep.
Hmm. Well, I know for
Uh
my own life, we're going to be visiting a ailing female elder in our family and having the conversations around mortality and just the logistics of what to do with a person's life. That's
also
not
very
easy to do.
Plutonian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not easy to do, but it's like out of acts of love that you sort it out, that you consider the effects of all that's involved with the last days of someone. All of that stuff is involved, and it doesn't mean that that this is their last day or their last month or their last year, but I know that conversations are about around that because that's the reason for the traveling. But one thing that came up when you were talking about when Pluto and Saturn sextile, there's something about Pluto things. It's if you, let's say somebody takes your phone for a few hours and they have free reign to like search through all your messages, emails, notifications, search history. What are the one or two things that come up that you would feel worried that they would see, or shamed, or protective, or secretive? Like those things, think about those things as a subject of like, I don't want that person to see that. That's like a little kernel of power that you want to keep for yourself, whether it's secrecy for secrecy's sake or out of protection of them, or you're not ready to talk about it, or it's not your secret to share, whatever it is. You can think it's like if I gave my phone to my husband or my son or my best friend, and then I thought, what do I not want them to see? That little kernel of story is like a little piece of power. Those are the kinds of stories that come up during a square, right? And even if it's like it wouldn't cause them harm, but you're like, I'm not ready to share that. It's like I'm not, for whatever reason. It like you can get a sense of that, I think, on this day of having that Pluto Saturn be like, there's a difficult conversation that feel like is building with a certain person. And am I getting some little signals of it this day? And is there a way that I can retain my agency and like
Mm,
sieve off this power if it feels like it's toxic? Like if you keep a secret and the longer you keep it, the more toxic it feels because you haven't revealed it. It's just like when the moon's in Scorpio, when the moon's in Mars's temple, take the knife and sever that, like lance that boil and let it go
mm-hmm.
out. So what comes up on that Saturday,
Yeah, and I
um,
just looked, the moon will
or
be
Friday? Yeah,
at 5 degrees. So it's basically
that weekend,
almost
this
a
weekend.
mirror. Yeah, this weekend. And it's
Yeah.
almost a mirror to that Scorpio moon. It's showing you both areas. That's what I
Hmm.
find crazy because it's only here when the moon's at 5 degrees opposing Pluto, it's only like 5 minutes apart. So they're
Yeah.
definitely sextile on this Friday when the moon opposes Pluto. So yeah,
If you don't listen to this until April, think about what happened the last weekend of March,
yeah.
because that's like the signal of what will happen the first weekend of April. It feels like they're related.
It sure does. So there you have it, Thero energy. And then the fifth, Sun squares Jupiter, Moon in Sagittarius. I think this one will be a little less serious. I always
Hmm.
feel like Sun square Jupiter is like, well, I really don't care what they think about me. Like
I
that's
can do
kind of
anything.
I do what I want
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah,
to,
I was thinking about this transit and I was like, this is like a having overconfidence. Like it
mhm.
feels like having like just buoyed by the idea that you could accomplish something. We have
Yeah.
an exalted Jupiter and an exalted Sun, and it's like we can totally do this. So it's like there is like someone described shadow side as being our unskilled side, and I really like that. It's not like this
Ah,
shadow that's out to haunt us. It's just like I haven't really developed that skill yet. But
yeah.
for language, for the shadow side of this could be like you have way more confident that you can like run across that train track before the train hits you. Like maybe that's not a good way to put that
Yeah.
overconfidence. But also, like if you have a dream, if you have something you really want to try and experiment and play with, if it's not definitely going to cause you harm if you fail, but just the worst thing that can happen is that you just don't hit your mark with the dream. I love this for just like really wildly dreaming and having just
Mm.
that buoy of the sun connecting to Jupiter there. They're both exalted. And it's just like this real like, come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. It has that kind of energy with the moon moving into Sagittarius too. I
Mm.
see that you're pointing out a Uranus moon opposition there right before the moon
Yeah.
moves.
That's really when you said the train thing, I was like, oh gosh, yeah, that's totally a situation that
Mm,
would happen. It's I guess exciting. It's a very exciting feeling, I think. So
hmm
I'm going to go with that rather than anything else. The moon trines Mars right before it. So I do feel like overconfidence could be a danger.
hmm
But also like directed the correct way, like maybe, just write yourself a poem or something to show
Yeah.
how much you love yourself. That would be a better idea than trying to jump out in front of a train because you think you're fast.
Well, also thinking of it in
So,
context of what happened earlier that weekend, having, Mercury trine Jupiter, having Venus and or Pluto
mhm,
square Venus, having that like disruption. It's like when that is like settling, then maybe that liberates you to like just try a new thing
mhm.
out of all that disruption and kind of splintering or severing or eruption, you're like, well, now that that's out, I definitely feel like I can have the liberation and the freedom to do this. So that it can feel positive because you're choosing something as opposed to like feeling like things bubbled up out of your control,
Yeah.
like it was put upon you. And this is like, I'm going to grab it, see,
Mhm.
carpe diem, carpe noctem.
Yeah. And Venus is coming into a sextile with the North Node there.
Mm-hmm.
So even that's positive, I think, so it's already a busy time at the very
Yeah.
beginning of the month. Like it's just so much. And
Mm-hmm.
then we've got Mars sextile Uranus on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
Mars is making moves in the middle of the week. Let's look at that.
Mm. So
Making them
Mars is at
moves.
home in Aries. Mars has been just kind of swimming. It went through Aquarius pretty quick. It's, been in Pisces for a little bit. It's been, tracking along pretty easily. It was exalted in Capricorn last winter, and now it's
Yeah.
coming home to Aries here.
Yes. I mean, as far as the sextile goes, I think you can't ever really predict a Uranus transit like this. Sextiles are soft. They're not like super present in reality. I don't necessarily always be like, oh, I could feel something sextile. I think that's what it is. It's a hint. And so
A
it's like
hunch.
a
Yeah.
hunch. Yeah. Like I need something's shaking up, something's about to change. And indeed, both of these things are about to change because Mars
hmm
then moves into Aries. And not very long after that, Uranus is going to move into Gemini. So we got a month. When is it?
Uranus goes into Gemini at the end of April.
Oh, so the end of this month. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I guess anything goes, the only thing left to interact is Mercury, and then it'll be Venus, right?
hmm
And that's
Yep.
it before it moves into Gemini. So that kind of puts a little more weight on this Mars and then the Mercury sextile to Uranus, I think, is that it's really the last things beside the moon and Venus to touch it.
hmm Yeah, I mean, this could be like some sort of, if you think of Uranus in Taurus and think of your Taurus house, and Uranus is long transit and disruption and, activity in that house. Mars coming in, and it's like the final thing to activate whatever final thing needs to happen in that Taurus house. I like it. Mars is a good, like a bouncer at a club to like get everybody out. It's like, put some crappy song on that's going to annoy everybody and push everybody out of the bar. I Mars Uranus, when they square, they oppose, or they conjoin, have a very different tail. But in feminine signs or receptive signs of Pisces Taurus, it's like a hint or a hunch, a subtlety, but still a movement. And so it's at 11:11 your time on April 8th. Um, ah, uh,
Yay.
and so like if you have these, if you practice your intuition antennas get a little bit freer of dust. So you feel like you pick up more coincidences and more intuitive hits. And so if you're honing in on your intuition, I would hone in on this 11:11 Central Time on April 8th, on Wednesday, on Mercury's day. As like, if something happens, if you witness something, can you take that as like this, okay, that is an auspicious thing that I saw that I can translate into this meaningful omen for my own life. It doesn't mean that it's something will happen to you, but you can take that moment. That's how sextiles are. They're these little wafts of something to come, but by themselves, uncontextually, because they're like the first thing that comes. It's the first aspect that planets make after conjoined. So they're kind of like, was that supposed to happen? Does that mean anything? They're hard to grasp. You can look at them better in retrospect, but if you can see it ahead of time, maybe you can catch a little bit of this moment before Mars then goes into Aries the next day, you know. And
Yeah.
Mars at an anaretic degree, famously a little flashy. So, but in Pisces, is that in the emotional realm? Is it in the watery realm, the creative realm, the sentimental realm,
Yeah. I mean, I just got a random cramp in my leg that caused me to have to switch the
Mm,
way and I was like, you know what? That could kind of feel like a Mars sextile Uranus, like a Charlie
mm-hmm.
horse. I was like, ah, it like woke me up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I had to move in the middle of you talking but then I was like, well, that's perfect for that specific transit
There
because
you go.
I mean that is sort of a Mars thing, and so there might be a little pinch of awake, you
An
know.
emotional Charlie horse. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Mars moves into Aries the very next moment. So that was 11/11, April 8th, 2:30. So 20, almost 24 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
about 20 hours later, Mars will move into Aries. So you have that long of the Mars Uranus kind of sextile until Mars goes into its home sign. And this is the thing that I can't tell if I like or not with Saturn and Neptune and Aries. I can't tell how I feel about Mars and Aries right now.
Mm-hmm. When the sun entered into Aries, it entered in at the 0 degree point, right? It's the ingress is 0 degree, 0 minutes. That was basically where Neptune and Saturn conjoined. It was this big conjunction back in February. So I was really looking at, okay, when the sun kind of hits the key on the piano of the zodiac, are they going to hit the same note that Saturn and Neptune made? Because Mars is going to come in and hit the same note too. And the thing that I noticed about the sun moving into Aries, and this is Sun Aries anyway, but it was like, everybody was like, finally. It was like this breath of like, I'm done dragging. I'm ready. I'm hopeful. I'm spirited. It had this real beautiful, hopeful sense, almost like a giddiness or like a carbonation of spirit. And I think
Mm.
that Mars will also have that. I like this. I like Mars going into Aries. Mars and Aries with Saturn and Aries when they conjoin later in the month. That's the one I'm like kind of like that. That's oh, let's talk about that. But that I'm not sure. This point I like. I really like, mostly because I really was paying attention when the sun hit that point because Saturn and Neptune had created this conversation. The sun was like, yes. And I see Mars going in and be like doubling down on that yes. So it feels hopeful, empowered, sparkly. I like that. The later conjunction with Saturn, because Saturn is not happy in Aries, that's what gives me pause. But for this one, I like this one. I
Yeah,
will
I think that's
celebrate
what,
it.
yeah, I like this. I think just the ingress, the Neptune conjunction could be a little disorienting. So let's look at what day that is. Yeah, so it's a couple days later. It takes about 2 days to get there. And the reason I'm going ahead and looking at the calendar is because it happens pretty fast. Like all of it really
Mm-hmm.
does. So you get
Yeah.
Mars entering Aries, Mars conjoining Neptune. That'll be a good day. Mercury and Aries. So we're not just getting Mars, we're getting Mercury right after that.
Yeah.
And then
Mm-hmm.
Mercury and Neptune, a new moon in Aries. And I'm just emphasizing how much of Aries we're getting right now.
Yeah, that middle
Um,
week of April is very Aries.
It
Very, very,
really
very.
is. And then on the 20th, we at least we have the sun entering Taurus at that point. We have um, three things in Taurus. But Mercury, Mars conjoining Saturn and Aries is the 20th. So we're talking a week of it. I don't think it'll start. When I say start, I mean shenanigans. Mars conjoining Neptune feels like shenanigans to me. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like I don't know, maybe the burning off of delusion, maybe that because Mars is hot and it's in its own sign hot. And
Mm-hmm.
Neptune is, this kind of foggy nature. So like things being revealed, burning off that fog. But I think that day, like I could see something happening on the 12th that's like, what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is this real life? That's kind
Yeah.
of what it feels like. Maybe we should
I
go to
get the
that.
sense of like, okay, well, Mars and Aries can be like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to put my head down and go. Where there's this an
Hmm.
assumption because Mars is at home. I know where everything is. I'm just going to go. And the weirdness of Neptune, I could see that day being like really going way too far with a bad idea, even if it's just a waste of time. Like you start
Hmm.
something and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to build this chicken coop, and I get so much into it and I pull all these things together, and I have ignored the help and advice of others, and I have just made a very unstable chicken coop, and I've wasted an entire day poking myself with chicken wire and clipping my hands and hammering my thumbs with it's like the whole day is like injury, and at the end of it you should have not been deluded with your own focus on what you wanted to build, because it
Hmm.
was kind of like a waste of a day. I see Mars Neptune as being that way too, of just take that story and then put it in your Aries chart, or the Aries part of your chart, and be like, be mindful of just like putting your head down and like ramming into an idea with your horns without pause, because I feel like you could
Yeah.
just have the motivation of Mars and the that delusion of Neptune, and maybe that's what you need to kind of break through. Maybe you just need the process of making something can teach you so much more than like the finished product of something that you made. But I could see this
Hmm.
as like being a bit delusional with hammers and nails sort of a thing,
Yeah.
as being kind of like just a wasted Sunday, like a wasted energy,
Hmm.
or like what was all that worth? Like just kind of like this un Mars really wants to have something to do, and Neptune is
Hmm.
like at the end of it, you're really not going to know what you just went through, what you just did, some sort of shenanigan sort of a thing.
Yeah. And that lasts all of Sunday. It gets to the second degree as you wake up. So it's like
Hmm.
it's a day that I would just try to stay grounded and kind of lasts in a Monday morning. Like you might have a harder time waking up Monday morning. Gets to
Yeah,
the
to me,
third
I would
degree
just
about
not do
midday.
anything alone. I would, because that Mars and Aries, the early degrees, it feels like I don't need anybody
Volatile.
else. I'm going to do it
Yeah.
myself. It's kind of like if you just be, if you feel like you, maybe that's what you need. Maybe you definitely need to like just finally break out of the team group and just do something solo. Fine. But
Hmm.
if you're finding that that causes harm, like, I was talking with someone and they kind of stopped themselves and they're like, I actually don't know what I'm talking about. I thought that I did. And I just made this assumption that I knew what I should. And I don't know what, I don't really know what I'm talking about. And it was so refreshing. Of kind of like, I do that too. I'll make a statement and just stick to it because I made it. And just because I made the statement doesn't actually mean that I am the authority on whatever I just said. And so that's what the vibe that I get of like, just don't be afraid to like retract and ask for
Yeah.
help or start over or quit or whatever it is. Like that Mars and Aries
Yeah.
can just be like, just, phew.
Hmm. Yeah. And then we have the very next day. It's funny. We have Venus sextile Jupiter. Monday morning. Oh, okay. So yeah. Wow. That's I would think also directing it towards, like comfort would help too with
Mm-hmm.
Venus sextile Jupiter. Like, if Mars and Neptune are making you feel weird or whatever, like, get just a Netflix and chill if you can, like Sunday. That's kind of like a good idea. I mean, don't ignore things you have to do, but it's if you make yourself comfortable, that could ease a lot of the I see Neptune as kind of anxious sometimes.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Just yeah, just because you don't know what's going on. The fog is so thick and Mars is itching to do something. So if you can just kind of concentrate on comfort, that might be nice with Venus in Taurus.
Well, I want to mention too, so last year, August 12th, Venus and Jupiter came together. And then I've been following them through all of their aspects to each other. So I'm just going to run through these dates because this is the final date of the 13th. So they came together August 12th, 2025. And then October 8th, Venus sextiled Jupiter. November 2nd, she squared Jupiter. November 26th, she trined Jupiter. And then January 9th of this year, she opposed Jupiter. February 22nd, she trined Jupiter. March 18th, she squared. And now on April 13th, she sextiled. So if we think of when two planets come together, it starts something, and
Hmm.
then they go through the faster moving planet kind of goes through and makes these different aspects, bringing in different sign energies and different aspects as a part of a whole arc of a story. So January 9th was like this opposite, this full moon moment of the conjunction back in August. Now, August 12th, 2025, can we look at that chart? Because it wasn't just that happening, right? It
Hmm.
was Mars opposite Saturn. It was
Uh-huh.
Saturn conjoined Neptune. But we did have this moment of Jupiter, Venus together. So
Hmm.
that story was hard to see that time. I remember everybody
Oh
looking
yeah.
forward to this date, but it was like the opposite. The the malefics in their fall opposite each other was just hard.
It
And
was
so
overpowering. Yeah.
it was really big. But if you can think of, okay, well, what's the Cancer house of my chart? Think of
Hmm.
the good things that the benefics bring, Jupiter and Venus bring, and then look at the dates. Starting August 12th, October 8th, November 2nd, November 26th, January 9th, February 22nd, March 18th. April 13th is the final sextile. So it's like we did all this together. Now we're closing in on, because they will conjoin again in Cancer before Jupiter moves to Leo. So it's like closing the story, but also bringing in some nice final nuanced, subtle gift between these two. And Venus is at home in Taurus, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So I really like the April 13th chart. But I just wanted to bring all those dates because this is a cycle that I've been watching because I really like the two of them together. And Cancer last year, even with the malefic opposition, it's just been a real beautiful story to watch.
Hmm.
The Cancer house is really where it's been highlighted, but it's bringing in all the other aspectual signs to Cancer as Venus has been going through the zodiac. So,
And this time, when it conjoins at 25 in June 9th, Mars will be in
hmm
Taurus. There's
hmm
not that same malefic. The moon Saturn's kind of given a nod to that stuff, but yeah,
Saturn
I'm
Mercury
so
square, yeah.
yeah, that's true. So I mean, there's still gonna be some things that might even kind of repeat or rhyme, but that's why
hmm
the sextile is so important, just to kind of pay attention to. Even Mars, Neptune are kind of giving a nod to where oh, it's the Mars Saturn conjunction right now. So they were
hmm
opposite at the Jupiter Venus conjunction, and
hmm
now they're conjoined as Venus sextiles Jupiter. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting to me.
yeah. So
Um,
it's like ushering in this little bit of change, to complete the story in the Cancer
yeah.
house.
So the next thing is Mercury in Aries, and then Mercury conjoining Neptune. We can tackle those together. Mercury moving into Aries is going to I feel like super nice because
Spicy.
yeah, spicy, but way more direct than it has been in Pisces. And I mean that both astrologically and in reality.
hmm
Um, because it was retrograde for a while in Pisces and it's just been kind of floating around and I can see it with I mean almost the way I've checked out a little bit mentally because there's so much like and I
hmm
think I see that in reality like I was with some friends and they were throwing out some conspiracy theories and I was just like I can't listen to it anymore. Like I don't even care if aliens are real at this point. Like nothing really matters. So can we just
Mm-hmm.
please quit talking about it? So as Mercury enters Aries, I'm looking forward to the spiciness of that, even though it'll hit Neptune right off the bat, which is still kind of Piscean in that way, you know?
Yeah, I think we'll have like the dream to like I just want things to be clear. I mean, I
Yeah.
think of our relationship with AI. You know, AI has not been around really that long as far as like uh like everyday people using it, but it exponentially
Mm,
is being used more and more. And I think this is like a call to finding clarity within AI because that Neptune is starting to get closer and closer into a sextile Jupiter, and I think Jupiter in Aquarius has something to do with systems of information, which is kind of an Aquarian thing.
mm,
But I wonder with Mercury going in there, it's like being very clear about your personal use of AI and having clarity of the kinds of AI you use, when you use it, and hopefully not letting AI usurp the creative things, but just giving it the mundane stuff to do so that the humans can be creative. I see this as like a being like, I want to have the fun. It's like having a CAPTCHA thing come up. It's like having a robot ask me if I'm a robot. It's like, no, bro, you're the robot, right? It's like
mm.
having that empowered mercurial thing of like, I'm going to choose the way that I communicate and first running into the Neptune, I feel like it kind of helps. I think it will be expressed as how are we engaging with this confusion of how we communicate because AI, because I don't know what's real. I don't know how to identify a AI video. I don't know how to explain to my boomer parents that that is a false image, that it's a moving painting of something that doesn't exist except within the Facebook world. It's like having all that once Mercury's past that, I feel like we might have more clarity on our language around AI. That's kind of what's been loudest for me when looking at this is like finding some breath of fresh air of like what is real, actually fundamentally real, and finding our own voice, which feels Mercury and Aries, and being spicier about it and cutting out the BS and not allowing for things that are just flooding the algorithm and flooding the zone and flooding our feed and consuming our bandwidth, which is with a bunch of shit that we don't even want to pay attention to anyway. It just feels like I'm just going to read things that I can hold in my hand or things from people that I absolutely trust. I feel like that's like that Mercury and Aries sort of empowerment with Mars super
Yeah.
close too. It's like choosing your battle with the information that you consume and that you give out and that you verify and that you're proud of and you're not wasting your time getting lost in the swamps of Pisces Mercury, but you're like blazing the trail for the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, and this Neptune being at the second degree, I was just looking at the Sabian symbol, and basically for the second degree, it is how you express the whole,
Ah,
how you are a part of the whole of everything, and how
mm-hmm,
you express it and become fully yourself as a part of that whole, the
yeah.
WHOLE. Then that's a really good way to look at Mars and Mercury hitting it at that degree. And I really love that because it still acknowledges your individual nature, but you are ultimately, it's like an expression of God.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just walking each other home kind of a thing. So I really like that for this degree. And hopefully the Mercury Neptune will help people understand that, including the way we use AI. You can be a trailblazer by engaging with it differently than other people. So,
Mm-hmm. And can we just pause and honor the fact there's so many
mm.
planets in Aries right
Yes,
now?
yes, yes, spanning the whole thing. And even,
hmm
I mean, we even get the new moon at the very end of the sign, 27 degrees on the 17th.
Yeah, that's the next thing on the calendar anyway. So
Yeah,
all of this stuff I feel like might inform this new moon structure. If we think of the
sure.
moon coming through and dying and becoming reborn again in Aries, but at the end of Aries with Chiron there, I feel like it's going to be dragging in all the issues from Neptune, Mercury, Mars, Saturn as well.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
we're gonna have to deal with stuff here. Like there is no way around it.
Mm.
And maybe making a new promise to ourselves as well. because of the bullshit that we've had to deal with and whatever problems we've made in our own lives, whatever problems we've had handed to us. It's a pretty new beginning with everything passing Saturn here and it being in
Mm-hmm.
this cardinal sign of Aries, the spring, the time when the light comes back. And it does feel like a spring for us. I mean, there's one sextile and it's Mars going on during this,
Yeah.
and then all that you have is Jupiter really kind of squaring it all by sign, and then Venus, Uranus. So it does feel very like the newest new moon ever.
Mm-hmm. The best new moon ever.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do think it will. And all of the things pretty much that we've had happen transit wise have brought everything to the surface, So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like things are hidden here. I think things have been revealed. We know what we want to do going forward or how we want to feel or how we want to be
Mm-hmm.
or whatever that might be. Um and so this new moon is like ultimate seed planting. Historically, if you are not bold during times of um like a depression, let's just say
Mm-hmm.
economic, if you're not bold, then you'll just get chewed up with the rest of everyone. See, this is like be bold time
Mm-hmm.
and go ahead and just do it. I mean, if things are already a little weird and things are changing, then all you have left is just to be your bold individual self. And that's
Yeah.
how this new moon feels, um, business wise, life wise, emotionally. I mean, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at the Aries part of your chart because you're going to have Neptune there, kind of diluting the boundaries that you thought were there. You're going to have Mercury there transmitting, communicating. It's got plenty of gossip because it's slowed down on Mercury and basically hit every planet. You've got Mars there at home, ready to just trailblaze. You have Saturn slowly plodding through, not very comfortable, looking for any tools that can help, as it's like a little bit of a desperation there. Chiron has been in Aries for a while. It was a part of the eclipse, 2 years ago. Now it's with this new moon. So it's like all of this stuff, all these things are kind of stacking up in the Aries part of your chart. And so most likely this part of your life will be the busiest. You can look at the house considerations for whatever house Aries is for you. If it's the first house, it's you. You personally are going to be busy. If you're Libra rising, it's going to be within the relationships and the contracts that you have with people. If you're Cancer rising, it's going to be way up visible. Other people are going to see how busy you are. It's going to be with work and career and all the things that you're connected to. If you're Capricorn rising, it may be more hidden. You may just be really busy with dealing with a bunch of stuff at home or things that are just not, visible to other people witnessing it. The cardinal signs are going to be, it's going to be loudest just because of that. But you can look at any of it, whatever sign you are, look at where Aries is, all that stuff, all that information is going to be happening. You're probably going to have to prioritize that part of your life this weekend and through the rest of the week until especially the sun moves out of Aries because it's really pulling in, illuminating that part of the chart. So I don't think it'll be surprising because there's so much stuff stacking up in Aries. Like I'm Scorpio rising, Aries is my sixth house, like it's work. And even though I don't have traditional jobs like other people, I'm working like so much harder and really loving it and really setting up systems so that I can work even more because I'm doing something that I really love to do and I want to have legacy with it and I want it to be valuable and full of integrity and it's like already been building up. So you can look at the Aries part of your chart and you're probably already dealing with it now because the sun's already there. Um, Saturn is there, Neptune is there. It's like the quicker moving planets are going to come and just agitate that. But I just wanted to give a shout out. There's a lot of stuff in Aries, so it's just going to intensify. And probably at that new moon, will be at that intensified moment because just 3 days later is when the sun leaves and the moon will be past it before that. So, yeah, it's
I
a big
love it.
one. And Mars is applying to Saturn
Yep.
too.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that whole time period, the 19th and 20th is going to be interesting to say the least, because you've got like the sun changing signs. You've got Mars, Saturn first. You've got Mercury, Saturn after the sun's changed signs. So it's just kind of jumbled up.
Mm,
I mean, a lot of work. It's like almost the work that you committed to at the new moon is being done.
yeah. Yeah, and I think of historically the sun at the energetic degree of Aries, there's been like plenty of violent attacks. There's like school shootings were kind of common. I mean, like just violence with that sun at the end of the end of Aries. It doesn't mean that violence always happens. It's just like an expression of that potential of energy with the sun at the very last degree, called the degree of crisis. And I like to use the word crossroads instead of crisis in certain circumstances. So at this
Mm,
point of the sun at this crossroads moment, it's about to leave its exaltation and go into a fixed place. And so it's like there's this frenzy and this mania of Sun and Aries at the last degree. And so that's what I'm like uncomfortable with while Mars and Saturn come together.
yeah, and
Honestly, I like Mercury being there
you've got
to like,
Mercury at 7 as
mm-hmm,
well. But it just reminds me of the gambling 777.
mm-hmm.
Why do you like Mercury there? Just
Just to break it up so that they can't conspire. Like Mercury doesn't have a sect team. Like it doesn't, there's preference. Like if it rises before the sun, it's, like there's Mercury kind of is able to play both sides. It likes to be in the first house, I think, so it can see the underworld and the overworld. I like Mercury there as a way to just break up the malefic party, break up
mm,
the intensity of these two things together, and hopefully able to communicate and transmit the potential of this malefic connection so that it doesn't go unseen. Things happening in Aries usually go unseen. It's a very expressive place. But I just like Mercury there as like the third wheel of this so that it can translate it for us so we can see what's going on. Um, I mentioned the violence just as like an example of how Aries at the anaretic degree can be. It happens, but it's not
mm-hmm.
the only thing that can happen. It can just feel like this urge of like I want to make the most out of my vacation before I get in the car to go home. It can just
Yeah.
be that kind of like just maximize it. So that energy, in addition to Mars and Saturn coming together, again, especially if you're cardinal rising, it should be pretty loud for you.
Yeah, and I think I do like, Mercury giving the dynamics to this. Like
Hmm.
Mercury thinks on its feet, and so this is a time you'll be able to see how the pieces fit together and be able to try to beat the timer. If something does, happen, it's like I can actually handle this. I'm thinking fast. I'm able
Hmm.
to
Yeah,
make the moves that need to be made.
that's a great point.
Um, that it's
What's the
lost on me
Sabian
that
symbol for this one?
I looked it up for the 7. So do you want the saving symbol for 7? Yeah. Yeah, unless it's on the like 0700, that's when you would read for the
Hmm.
exact degree. Otherwise, you go to the
Okay,
next degree.
the
Yeah.
next one. Okay,
So you go to 8. So if I say I'm reading for 7, I'm always reading number 8.
okay.
Um, unless it's exact by the minute on 0.
Hmm.
All right. So a large woman's hat with streamers blown by an east wind, protection and spiritual guidance in the development of consciousness, producing results which require protective forms, either cultural or ethical precepts, and sensitivity to spiritual energies. So to me, it's like, it really is like a think on your feet, but almost spiritually as well, which kind of lends
Hmm.
itself to Neptune.
The malefics, you know, compel us to grow spiritually, and without them, we would be rudderless and just floating
Mm-hmm.
around, not really making any sort of movement in our growth. So,
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is a moment of I know exactly what I want to do to make me become a better version of myself. I'm ready. I'm ready to start. I'm ready to be disciplined. I'm ready to put my energy behind it because I want to ascend to some a better I know I have a better version of me that won't respond that way or won't react that way, but will choose a better response. Like maybe this is that moment just personally of like this is what I'm going to do. And I had to make this mistake to make me realize that I don't want to do that
Mm,
again. I want to do this, you know.
yeah.
But I like that in the spiritual sense. I love the visual of it. It reminded me of like Studio Ghibli, the straw hat with like little streamers, you know.
Yes, exactly. Blown by an east wind. I love
hmm
that, but if for instance in the real world you do have to be out in a crowd around this time,
hmm
this is the kind of situation I would say protect yourself. Make sure, like if you are into spiritual protection, do that. If you're
hmm
into real material things, like make sure you have an exit plan and things like that. It's mainly like this is calling us to watch ourselves,
Mm,
and that's not a bad thing, it's like check yourself before you wreck yourself kind of a
hmm
situation. So, I mean, you can't really, I always say you can't really run from transits, but you can be aware of how best to use them
Yeah.
and how best to be prepared. And I don't relish the thought of Mars and Saturn conjunction because, I mean, it just lends itself to all the things you've been saying, and I don't want to
Can
be
we look at
afraid
the
of it
last
either,
time that
though.
happened? It would
Mm-hmm.
have been in Pisces last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, April 10th at 14 degrees Pisces of 2024. I want to see actually something I've been itching to do this, but I think you just opened the door for me. Um, oh yeah. Mars was in Aries when the sun and when Saturn entered. So I want to see this one, April 2nd, 1998. Mercury was there as well. Mercury was retrograde. Um, because history is a really good example of how to use astrology. You can go look at
hmm
April 2nd, 1998, and see what was the history of that day. Major world events, especially, are something. So this is a good. Okay. So, Bosnian war crimes arrest. Former Bosnian Serb official was arrested by NATO led forces for alleged war crimes. What a chart for that. I
hmm
mean, Saturn kind of governs things like arrest, and
hmm
so something like that could be in the news.
So last year it was I looked at the day before because the applying aspect usually is
Mm,
louder than the
mm-hmm,
exact. And there was a roof collapse at the Jet Set nightclub in the Dominican Republic
I
and
remember
killed
that.
136 people. There was a mass shooting in the United States, which is unfortunately not that uncommon. There was a big fire in New Jersey that killed a few people. And then there were ongoing conflicts in
Yeah,
Ukraine and Palestine and, like those. But, it's like that kind of thing. Like that's what comes up. That's the cream of the news.
yeah.
It's going to be the more, tariffs were a big thing then.
Mm-hmm.
They still are, but that was like when they were in the news. And then the Summer Olympics announced the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. So it's like that's also a Mars sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what
So when
else?
Andy says like protect yourself, it's like you can't assume that you're at the nightclub you're dancing is the roof's going to collapse. It's like
mm,
you can't really be ready for that, nor should you, you know, like operate as if the roof is always going to collapse on you. But like that kind of thing can happen under these like really intense sort of, it can be expressions of that sort of intensity.
mm. Yeah. And I mean, I do think so. Another thing I saw about the 1998 one was they were in the process of seeing who would adopt the euro. And
Oh,
so, even economic, you think Saturn is governments. And so, there were discussions around that.
Mercury
The,
is money.
yeah, money, commerce. And Google was they were working on founding Google around that time. So like kind of big things happen with Saturn anyway with regards to transits to Saturn. But the
hmm
Kosovo War was going on. I remember my dad had to go. He was deployed to the
Mm.
Kosovo War. Um there were conflicts all over. Northern Ireland was having stuff go on.
Hmm.
So,
That was
I
kind of
mean,
the end of the Troubles at that point in the
it
late
was the
90s.
peace
Yeah.
talks.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's a kind of a Saturnian thing. It's like we've got to put a lid on this and solidify these peace talks.
Hmm.
So, there's lots of ways you can look at this stuff. And that's why I like to go back and look at history. And so does Krista. Look at like last year, what was going on.
Hmm.
Because
And just in your own, like look in your own, like if you can't remember, last year, around that time, what was the date? It was That's the best. Like when you
April 10th, 2024.
yeah, going down rabbit holes, you discover things that you did not know that you wanted to know. And
Yep.
that to me, that's like the death of asking ChatGPT the answer to something is that it may give you an answer, but you've lost the joy of the discovery of the tangents that you can go down that
Mm,
I didn't know I wanted to know about that, and I wouldn't have gotten there if I had just asked somebody to give me the direct answer. It's like the discovery process is such a good lesson. Um,
mm,
so look at April 10th. If you don't remember, look in your phone, look in the photos. You know, what photos were you taking? What was the vibe? Look in your email,
yeah.
look in your calendar,
Of
look in your social
2024,
media
right?
of 2024
Yeah.
because they haven't been together since then.
They
And
haven't.
this was also Jupiter was approaching Uranus to conjoin. That energy also was happening. So you can just think of what were you doing around that time? That was the last time they were together at this point. So it's like we survive plenty of them every couple of
Mhm.
years. It's not like we're all gonna die
Right.
on the same day. um, it's just like it's an intense moment.
Yeah. And don't forget, that's April 19th and 20th. You might even put in the 18th, like you said, the
Hmm.
because the new moon's already got that stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I would definitely treat that weekend like as an awareness time, both awareness of how what you're doing and what others are doing, and in reality, I think.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
because yeah, I do remember. I think I remember April 2024. It's weird.
I do. I made some like big personal choices right around that time, and I remember it because of the Uranus Jupiter conjunction. They conjoined to the exact minute to my Mercury while I was in a Mercury year, so it was like very finger on Krista pointing right at me sort of energy. So it was a memorable, and it was angular. It was in my seventh house. So again, when things happen in an angular house, they're usually more memorable. So if you can find something to trigger your memory for April 2024, then you might have a sense of, oh, that's what that can feel like. Now apply it to a different house in my chart. It can be kind of
Mm-mm.
like that, but in this context.
See, that's why I like that kind of stuff.
You and I were just
Um,
starting these.
that's what I was thinking, that we started it and here we are again. And then Venus conjoins Uranus, and that is also pretty cool and weird and interesting and crazy. So 29 degrees, the anaretic degree. I like that you said degree of crossroads, not just degree of crisis.
Hmm.
This one feels more like a crossroads because it's Venus.
Yeah. And I like the that moon being that first quarter moon. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, there's a T square going on there, sort of, with Pluto.
Hmm.
That's it's like Venus is going, okay, Uranus, you've been in my guest house too long.
Hmm.
You
I'm
know,
gonna
like,
usher you out.
mm-hmm,
Follow me.
yeah, you have done plenty. Now I have to repair the bathroom door, things like
Hmm.
that. Because Uranus shook that area of our lives up. And
Hmm.
so this feels a little sweeter than, like, let's say if the last aspect was Mars, obviously,
Hmm.
or even the sun. I think this feels like a very sweet end to Uranus and Taurus. It's like, ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a nice little like retirement party.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
guess we should give those dates. Uranus has been in Taurus since what, 2018? I think
2017,
it was May
2018.
2018
Okay.
is when it first went in, but it dipped back out two times, I think. So it was fully in Taurus by March of 2019.
2019. Yeah.
And then so you could look from starting in 2018, but definitely 2019 to now, Uranus has been for me in my 11th house of goals and networking. A lot has changed. A lot with my goals have changed. A lot of that. So, I mean, if
Yeah.
you look at Uranus as the change maker, which I kind of do, and the chaos agent, and it did bring a lot of chaos to that area of my life. Um, then maybe in that context where Taurus is for you,
Hmm.
um, I mean, it's your relationship area, right, Krista?
Yeah, and I mean, in my natal chart, I have Sun Uranus opposition natally. And so I've
Mm,
been going through my Uranus half return or Uranus opposition while it's been hitting on my Taurus placements. And I've been talking to some people that have Uranus and Gemini, and they're like they're freaked out that they're about to have their Uranus opposition. And
mm,
me being the elder, having already gone through it, like I loved having my Uranus opposition because it really did help liberate me from obligations that were just really in my own head. It helped to just kind of like shock the ground to help. It's like those
mm,
things where they like electrify the ground, all the worms come up. It's just like that was
mm,
always there. And I needed that Uranus transit to just eradicate the stuff that had been festering. And in Taurus, it's different because it's fixed Earth, so it's so
mm,
sticky and stagnant. And having Uranus go through in that relationship house, it was part of that Uranus Jupiter conjunction in my seventh that was, part of that story. But if you have Uranus in Sagittarius and you're about to begin your Uranus opposition, don't fret. Like it is such a it can feel incredibly disjointed and chaotic and like what is going on and why is this happening sort of in the moment. And then you're like, I needed somebody to shake me out of that so that I could
mm,
then shake off this old part of myself so that I could get to this next stage or this next scene. Uranus and Gemini is a very different energy than Uranus and Taurus, for sure. But
mm,
I just would give advice to people that have Uranus and Sagittarius and that are beginning their opposition or their half return that it's a very exciting time, and I am excited to watch now from my grandma seat of having gone through it already to be like, yeah, you totally got this. You can you will see the shimmery, shiny reflection of the positive growth after the fact. Maybe not hitting it immediately, but Uranus is not something that you can really plan for. You just have to learn how to ride with it and be willing to let go of things so that you can ride freer. That's really the
mm,
only bit that advice that I would give. That it's a sign of like maturity and how you respond to things instead of react to it. Like all that is the Uranus there. So it was
mm,
angular, but it was also it's a huge part of me becoming an astrologer for the public was a huge piece of it. So I mean, like there were so many really beautiful positive things that came through that opposition. And I just want to, congratulate all of the Uranus Sagittarius generation. Like you're next, and it's gonna be awesome. Like don't fret it.
Oh, there you go. I know, yeah, because I mean, that's, Venus enters Gemini, and that's when I guess here, if you have Uranus in Sagittarius, once we get to Uranus and Gemini, yeah, you are in what Krista is talking about.
Hmm.
And my own partner's one of them. He's got it very early degrees.
Yeah,
So,
he'll get it soon. Yeah.
he's also got, and usually that comes around your Saturn opposition. Um,
Hmm.
somewhere around there. And he's got that going on too. And this is going to be really interesting, Krista. I didn't think about this. The Jupiter Saturn conjunction in 1981
Hmm.
happened at like 7 degrees of Libra. And I could be wrong on the exact, and I could go look, but it was that 1981 generation. And the reason I'm
Okay.
thinking about that is that means a whole generation that has that Jupiter Saturn conjunction is going to experience their opposition with Neptune and Saturn.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think that's a really, at the same time, the Uranus oppositions are going on.
Hmm.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is because
Is
that whole
4 degrees
four
Libra. I just like
degrees
to,
and it
yeah.
retrograded. Warren's got it at 7 retrograde. They were both
Okay.
at 7. So they stuck together for a minute, like just really close. And I don't know if it was Sam Reynolds. I heard someone say, I'm jealous of those couple of years because those people
Mm.
have the Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Libra.
Oh,
And
so it was December 31st, 1980. And then they
mm,
conjoined again March 4th, 1981. So this
yep.
they conjoined at 9 degrees, and then they conjoined at 8,
Hmm.
and then they conjoined at 4.
Isn't that
That was
funny?
around, yeah. So that 8, December 31st, 1980, to July 24th, 1981. So that it's like 18 months
Yeah.
of their in Libra. Yeah, that's awesome.
So that Saturn opposition's coming with all that. I mean, if you
Uh-huh.
even think of the Mars Saturn conjunction is going to oppose the whichever maybe the last one, the 4 degrees one, so it's all happening to this to a big swath of a
Mm-hmm.
generation, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's important in context of what's going on in the world. I think what you're going to start seeing is a lot of people born during those years get into public office and really start trying to make a change. It really is that kind of a situation,
Yeah.
especially because a lot of those people, justice is probably the most important thing with a Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Libra.
Mm-hmm.
It's I see it in all of those people, maybe because my partner is was born March 11th of 81, so he's got it very closely conjoined. So a lot of his friends are born in that era.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see it in them, and I'm just like, wow, like they're truly a little bit of a different breed. And Uranus was in Sag, so all
Yeah, I
those
could see it as
people,
like bringing that sense of justice into whatever you do, whether you run for public office or not, like having that political equanimity in whatever you do, bringing that forward. Because, yeah, I see where you're going with that. I think it's a really beautiful observation. And if you're called to
mm-hmm,
do it, like if you're one of those 80, 81 babies, I am, but I don't have them together because I was
yeah,
born earlier that year. But like if you have that sense anyway, it's like here's your permission or your invitation to start to incorporate it within your everyday life. You don't have to run for school
mm-hmm,
board and run for all this. You can just act politically equitable with whatever you're doing,
mm-hmm.
with the
Yeah,
choice of the grocery store you shop at, where you buy your books, what corporations you support, what independent artists you support. You can do that in so many small ways. And if an entire generation of people over a couple of years born in 80, 81 do it, that's massive. That's
yeah,
millions and millions of people, across the
yeah.
world that can enact that change, and having that baked into your solar return, maybe it feeds something in you to have the fate to be fulfilled that way.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And um, if you filter in or add in the Uranus and Sag thing happening um, at the same time, that's February 81 is when it went into Sag
Hmm.
through, and then it retrograded again and went back in November 16th of 81. So you've got even that happening at the same time. And to me,
Yeah.
that's such a strange thing, especially because Pluto is there too. So the next 3 years are going to be that generation being kind of pulled
Pulled
out,
in. Yeah.
pulled in, pulled
Pulled
out.
pulled into the conversation, like kind of set up on stage a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because that's the end of the Gen X, the beginning of the millennials. It's like this, I'm a part of this generation of like one foot in one foot in the other. So it's like
Yeah.
an unidentified generation. It doesn't matter what the generation is. It's like individually, we're going to just collectively put put our money where our mouth is, just play that equitable citizen.
Yeah, and this month really kicks it off, like in a big, big way. I
Hmm.
mean, with all of the things we've talked about, I mean, if you want to kind of put it in that lens, if you've listened to this whole podcast and you're one of those years, maybe kind of think about it all under that lens,
Hmm.
because this next one, so April 23rd, Venus leaves Uranus pretty fast. Like the conjunction is also April 23rd, I think. Yeah. So 8:58 p.m., April 23rd, and then Venus and Gemini. at 11:03 p.m.
Yeah, like 2 hours later.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. So I would also say the 22nd for the Venus Uranus thing, but Venus entering Gemini is just kind of like um a blip, really, because as soon as Uranus moves to the Gemini, I think it's going to take over the story pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What was the oh, Sun square Pluto is also happening around this time.
Yeah, and that's like the moon and Leo kind of creating that opposition to Pluto and the square
Hmm.
that first quarter moon.
Yep. Okay. Oh, so that's April 25th. So that's that Saturday. So you have Venus Day to enjoy Venus by itself in Gemini
Hmm.
before we get Uranus invading that area too. So Saturday the 25th, Sun squaring Pluto. And yeah, like the day before, like you said, it's going to be already activated by the moon.
Hmm.
I think Sun square Pluto doesn't really take huge precedence here. I mean, I can imagine it being just kind of a drop in the bucket with I think with the overall weird feelings of Uranus about the switch signs, because I really feel Uranus transits when they switch signs. I don't
Yeah.
know if anyone else does, but
Can we look at the date last year? When did Uranus
mm,
go into Gemini? Is it
mhm,
September or June?
July 7th.
July. July to November, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so last summer, July, August, September, October, and then a little bit of November, but like that, the majority of the summer we had Uranus and Gemini.
Hmm.
For some reason, it's harder for me to like remember back to that time period and be like, what was it? I'm
I
sure,
know.
so it's like maybe once it goes into Gemini, I'll be like, oh, that's what that connection is, that because the first time it goes in, it's just like it's uncharted territory for your life. So the second time it comes in, you're like, oh, I see what this might be, what
Hmm.
this might be bringing.
So
Yeah.
I think the big story here is Uranus and Gemini. So it's been in Taurus, an earth sign. It's been shaking that up.
Hmm.
Now it's in Gemini, and that's your mind. That's the way we communicate. That's the way we come up with new hypotheses in science. It's all very Gemini. And so Uranus makes everything faster to me. And I feel like this is really going to start feeling, if it feels fast now, we've almost been slow rolling
Hmm.
to the part where the roller coaster starts to go. With Mercury and Aries, it feels super busy.
Yeah. I wonder, currently we are experiencing the potential of a food shortage because of
Mm-hmm.
the lack of ships going through the Strait of Hormuz that bring fertilizer. And whatever you think about fertilizer and farming, it exists to feed the majority of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like I fundamentally am against using, toxic fertilizers. And yet that's what a lot of mass farms do to feed the masses of the world. And they're already looking at food prices going up, fuel costs going up, like all this stuff, which feels like that's the last degree of Uranus and Taurus, Uranus in a fixed
It sure does.
earthy sign.
It
So
sure
that's
does.
what I'm looking at. It's like, what's going to change? Because, in a month's time, this is basically a
Mm-hmm.
month from you and I talking right now, there's, even if things open up today, there's still
Mm-hmm.
going to be a delay in the timing. Farming is all about timing and catching the
Yep.
timing correctly for the crops that you're going to grow. And so, is this food shortage potentially coming towards us going to be the final gift of Uranus and Taurus? And is that going to mean that the silver lining is that people are going to engage more locally and get away from mass farms? In the West, where we have more privilege to have that, in more depressed countries, they don't have that situation. So like the third world countries, the more depressed areas of the world are going to suffer and have more fatalities due to food shortage than we will in the West. But is the silver
Mm-hmm.
lining going to be that people are going to take ownership and agency over their food? That's what I'm thinking of it as Uranus leaves Taurus. What happens when it goes into Gemini? I think you're right. It's like it's going to be a matter of the mindset, the theories, the experimentation, the collection of data. What do we do with that data? It's going to be way more. It's going to be tied into Pluto and Aquarius. It's going to be tied into our relationships to artificial intelligence and for automation of things that humans used to do. And it's going to accelerate that tremendously. I think we're going to see that tremendous acceleration. I think a lot of people will lose their jobs because it's going to go to something that's automated and that will speed
Hmm.
things up. And that'll be a crisis or a crossroads for many people, but then that will also liberate them to do something else that they would not have done unless they were liberated from it. So it's like this double edge of Uranus. It's like the sign itself looks like two, swords like back to back. Like one sword is going to free you, one sword is going to really fuck up your life. You know, which
Yeah.
one is going to happen? It's going to both be at the same time. So,
Yeah. And our minds will be super busy. I mean, your Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is going to be squaring Jupiter.
hmm
The moon will be in Mercury sign squaring Uranus the very next moment,
hmm
So it is going to be on your toes kind of moment, I think, with, how do we figure this out? What do we do? I mean, I do think Venus's presence in Gemini is helpful
yeah.
and possibly shows how we're going to work together. I think Uranus's transit into Gemini is almost reflective of all the stuff in Aries in some way.
Hmm.
Like, you have to think to survive. You have to be able to
Yeah.
communicate to not be alone. There's lots of this. How does the how do the mutable signs help the cardinal signs kind of a thing?
hmm
It's a biggie. This is a biggie for the whole year.
So if you have early degree mutable placements, you haven't
Hmm.
been hit by anything for a while except the sun and the moon going through, Pisces, Mercury, Mars. That happened earlier in the winter. This is a big shift for
Hmm.
mutables. So if you have a early degree mutable placements, I feel like you'll feel the Venus one, but you'll confuse the Venus one when the Uranus one happens because it's just going to be much louder. Ingresses of planets like that to a new sign are usually much bigger. Uh,
Hmm.
Felt.
They are.
They're just louder. They have just more of a experiential impact because other people are also feeling the earthquake that Uranus can bring.
Yep. On the very next day, Mercury makes its exact square to Jupiter. So it's present at the ingress, so I think it's going to continue to
Yeah,
act.
yeah.
That's really going to dominate the very end of the month. You have Venus trine Pluto, and that's it, I think. Which I'm looking forward to that one. It's a very
hmm
like, oh, and the moon's there too, trying on April 28th. So this is a
Oh, that's
Tuesday.
lovely. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. That's hopefully empowering. And moment when maybe things click or lock in. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah, I
do
just wonder it being
feel.
more social too, looking at the air
Mhm.
signs as social signs, with the moon there in Libra. It'll be
A lot of
there.
communication.
It'll be there Wednesday and Thursday as well. So that whole week, being pretty chatty.
I totally agree. And um as we end the month, I should say, just gearing up for the Mars square Jupiter, which will be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
um that comes in May. That'll be around May the 4th, be with you. Yeah, it's happening over that. So that's just a preview. That's gonna be I kind of look at that as high anxiety kind of a situation. Mars square Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
just makes you feel like you got to do something, and it's the
Yeah.
closing square to it. That's just a
I think it'll
preview
be
for May.
similar to the Sun square Jupiter, because it'll be
Yeah,
within a couple of degrees of that happening. So, but Mars is a bit more antsy
yeah, it
than
is.
the Sun.
And antagonized by Saturn.
Yeah, one of my ex-boyfriends was from Mexico, and he used to tell me, "Tienes hormigas en la falda," and it means you have ants in your skirt. And it's just like I'm very Marsy. I have like lots of like, Mars is my ascendant ruler. Mars is conjoined Jupiter in my chart. It's like I just like gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. And so this is like a Tienes hormigas en la falda sort of transit. I look at of like you just have that urge, that restless body syndrome of just like wanting to like move forward with something because that agitation that Mars and empowered Mars in the sun's decan in the sun, it's like all of that energy like connecting with that over the top exalted Jupiter. Um, I don't know.
I
I'm
love it.
predisposed for it. That I kind of like that one.
So that concludes April. Ta-da!
Okay, so now that we're at this end of it, which date, which emoji do you actually choose? And then look at those two emojis together and see, is there some sort of synthesis between the two of these that maybe is actually my emoji omen for the month of April? I still like the Mercury square Jupiter.
Yeah.
But the one that I'm drawn to now is the Mars enters Aries. I'm like, oh, there's something about that. So I'm gonna mash up the April 9th and the April 26th is my emoji omen for the month. What about you? What are you looking at? You like the
Looking
Pharaoh
at,
one, right? That
I
was the
did
Pharaoh
like
was
the
your
fair
first.
one. I still kind of like that, but I think I'm going with the full moon in Libra now. I like that vibe of that's like the
Mm-hmm.
SpongeBob face, right? Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know where that came from, but I love it.
I found my gua sha thing and I was doing it and I was like, oh, I'm making that face. So to me, I see that face now and I think of like, oh, they gua sha their face. So maybe that's what you need
Uh,
to do for the full moon in Libras. Get out the gua
yeah,
sha, get some sea buckthorn oil, get something real nice, do like little face steam, do something for your full moon.
I love it. I also like Mars sextile Uranus. That could be cool.
Yeah,
We shall see. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Krista. That was awesome.
yeah, we worked it out. We didn't talk over each other that much.
Not that much. No, I had a Charlie horse at one point, but
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
but yeah, you can find us on YouTube. We love if you like, share, and subscribe. It's
Hmm.
under usually it's on Practical Astros channel. Sometimes I'll throw it up on mine too, Ecstatic Astrology. And you can find us both at the same names on most things.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram and Substack mostly. I started my deck and walk on Substack and absolutely loving it. It's clearly like what my mission is for the year to do. It's just really, really geeking out. So if you've never done a deck and walk before, you can always start at any decan. And the decan is a 10-degree segment of the zodiac. So the sun enters a new decan every 10-ish days. So the deck and walk at Substack, but Practical Astro is pretty much everywhere. And in early May, I'm going to do a lecture for ESAR that's on grimoires, on astrological grimoires and herbalism and stuff. So I'll put the link to that once that's available because it'll be pretty soon when the May forecast comes out. It'll be that. So if you're listening in April, check the show notes and hopefully I'll have remembered to put that in there. But that's kind of what's happening for me. And I'm reading charts. I've got all sorts of offerings as usual. So book if you are inclined to, or share my name if somebody wants to have a reading.
Yeah,
What about
sharing
you,
is
Mandy? What are
caring.
you up to? Sharing is caring. Yeah.
Yeah, sharing is caring. Just going to do a couple local things. We have some groups getting together for local astrology, but also always available at ecstaticastrology.com for
Awesome.
readings. I love to do them.
I've sent a few people Mandy's way because Mandy has a really good touch for astrocartography. So if you've ever had the inclination to get your astrocartography read, if you want to know where to go this summer for your vacation, I like Mandy's interpretations for astrocartography. And it's getting hip now. People are like, oh, I want to hack my own chart to see where I need to go on vacation or where I need to
It's
move
true.
to. But it's great technique, and I like Mandy's approach to it. So
Well, thank you. Also,
yeah.
I've had a really big love for secondary progressions lately too. So
Ah.
you guys let me know. I can tell you where you're at in the overall lifetime astrology.
I
That's
love
what it
secondary
is.
progressions. I don't use them that much. It's like one of those techniques that comes up and you're like, oh, that's what's been
Mm,
going on the whole time. And I wasn't even looking at that.
It's a
But
really fun technique. And I usually get a hold of people when a planet's like ingressing something, which
mhm.
is a really big deal in secondary progression. So, yeah, just holler at us. We both do all kinds of things, and we would love to work with you. And thank you very much for watching.
Yeah. Thanks, Mandy.
Bye.
Bye.